$5 says David Woods is playing IE.
Let me see if I would take that bet. Okay, I don't know. I was just gonna glance and see if there were any IEs in the field, and there are, so
Yeah. All right, so Bill's got QMC, it looks like. Okay. And there's a Tatooine site. Yep, there's that trooper landing site. So it's IE versus QMC. Okay.
all right.
Now this is an interesting matchup for sure.
Very, yeah. So going to be some interesting tension between whether, whether you progress your own plan or whether you adapt and try to disrupt your opponent. Um, both of these decks have pretty powerful proactive plans. So,
Hmm.
just leaving them to their own devices is probably not the best idea. But the expense of that, of course, is going to be if you try to disrupt them, are you going to be able to still execute on what you're trying to do?
Right. Now you're looking at the possibility of, QMC between guys like Pukamer and Watering Hole. Even if resistance is out, you're still basically draining two at like 4 or 5 different locations and then possibly retrieving with Celebration if that stays out. Trooper IE over there, they're doing 3 or 4 occupation damage plus draining for 5 or 6. So if you just get into a straight up race.
Yeah, so looks like we got a pretty good look at Bill's hand here. I definitely see an escape pod combo and a Lando with gun. There's an Overseer already in hands.
It looks like Wood started Endor Shield and Detachment, which are pretty common, but he also started, is that Imperial Enforcement for
I
the
believe
free
that's
battles?
I believe that's Imperial Enforcement for the free battles and redraw.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Enforcement makes a lot of sense, right? For a deck that is not allowed to play characters and ships that break
Hmm.
Enforcement. Um, Starting, it's an interesting choice because
Yeah, that means he's not playing Imperial Arrest Order for the forfeit bonus, which
or
means he
yeah,
might also be playing Ellis.
yeah. So it looks like David's going to go right for all of his turn one pulls. He pulled Fanfare to get um, Alert My Star Destroyer non-V. Makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Typically, you would see turn one Ozzel to a site and then shuttle up with Alert so that the Devastators are fully immune to attrition.
Right.
Um, he pulls Ozzel and Thrawn with Endor Shield. I believe that was non-virtual Thrawn.
I would think so.
Haven't seen this matchup played in years. Yeah, I mean, IE's been on the downswing for a little bit here, but it's got some help in set 21.
Hmm.
Um, I think really what was holding it down a lot was Obi-Wan communing. Um, just like giving up a bunch of Tatooine sites so your opponent gets all their use pop holes and just gets to beat you up wherever they want. This is really that was tough.
That and them also being able to keep you on the 0 side because there's too many sites for you to cover.
Yeah. Um, with it as it is now, though, I think there's kind of a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more possibility for this deck to shine when it wasn't
Hmm.
super viable before. So that's true. So like that, the Trooper IE is potentially a more of a Trooper beats than
Hmm.
like the older kind of controlling IE. So
Right. And that's where this matchup gets interesting because it's unlikely Bill's going to want to send much to Tatooine. He might go try and take out the system and just outpower, the Devastator in space. But going to the ground where all those troopers and trooper assaults and things can just get pretty hairy, versus at least on Cloud City, he's got more evasion type things that he can do to avoid battles.
yeah, so we see the TK, whatever his numbers are, um, who the dewback sand trooper,
Yeah.
um, and Mos Eisley virtual for David.
Yeah, I was looking at this deck the other day because I played against someone in the Jawa Cup running an IE, and it was just like, all right, well, do you need to play this TK and this dewback thing? Well, the dewback comes from out of the deck, and the trooper you can swap for, so you always get him. It deploys for 2, it draws battle destiny, and you can't hit the guy piloting it with lightsabers.
Yeah.
It's like, why wouldn't you play it?
Yeah, it's like I would agree. It's like, do you need to? Well, no, but it's so low cost that I probably would. Like,
Right. The whole thing deploys for 2, draws best destiny, it's got good power and forfeit, and yeah. Just
we'll see what David's gonna do here to
mm-hmm.
progress to his turn. He is gonna drop the trooper with the dewback to the, I believe that's the Jawa camp. I did see that Bill has Honshu and the Falcon in his hand as well, so we got a couple of power destinies if he wants to go for it. That looks like a deflector shield generators, I think.
Yeah.
It flashed a little too quick for me to see the art, but we got Ozzel down to Mos Eisley. I believe IE needs to control 3 sites to flip.
Yes. You have to control
So
3, and your opponent has to control less than 3, I think is the wording on it.
I think that's correct. So he is going to do the Ozzel shuttle up play. So Devastator is immune fully to attrition and power
11, 13,
I think 13, yeah.
because of the deflector generator adds 2 and stops the landing claw.
Yeah. So pretty solid setup already. He isn't threatening much damage because of the text on the IE objective, blocking the drain in space. He's only going to drain for 1 here next turn, but certainly he's setting up his presence. And for like a trooper beat strategy, this makes sense too, because the dewback thing, you're not probably going to be able to use that aggressively against QMC. So
No, with most of the interior sites anyway. So, and it's a drain of 2. It's a
yeah.
quick drain. So,
Oh, is it a drain too?
yeah, the site's +1 if you have a trooper there and no aliens on Tatooine.
Ah. Must not be Java Camp. What is it?
No, that is the Jawa camp,
Oh.
and that's the text on the virtual version of it.
Oh, my filter was looking for a Amidala persona with Java Camp in name, which was obviously not going to give us anything. Yep. Force drain +1 of trooper here, no aliens on Tatooine. Cool. So yeah, he's actually, I mean, turn 2 getting to drain for 2
For
with
free.
yeah, without having to pay for battle plan and without having to really commit very much. It's a pretty solid opening.
Right. 1 card from hand that he spent 2 force on that he pulled, and everything else basically all got pulled. His opening hand is what it is, and he got the ability to draw 4 or 5 cards.
Yeah, so Bill looks like he pulled Harksef and Overseer with Belden's Eye combo. I don't see anything unusual about Bill's start here from QMC. He did the computer interface to start the upper plaza walkway, and then he uses his objective to pull the north corridor.
Yeah,
and I can't actually see the effect under Belden's Eye combo, but it would be shocking if it wasn't keeping the Empire at forever.
it's got to be here. So I mean, and that's the other thing too. This version of IE now with the permanently immune Devastator, that's kind of usually the only ship they run anymore. So it's staying at Tatooine. It's probably not moving to Bespin.
Yeah.
And Bill's can feel pretty loose to go with just Harksef here. And
looks like Bill is going to deploy Harksef and draw. Now, Harksef is actually not worth any activation against David, because David does not have any non-battleground locations.
no.
So Harksef controlling Bespin is certainly good. That's step number 1 for doing your flip, but normally he'd be worth some activation, and he's not here, which is interesting.
Or the potential of them putting a Dark Jedi at one of your locations and getting an extra site to accelerate your
like
getting your cards out of your deck. Yeah,
that's possible, but given that David would really only have the Emperor and Vader for that, it seems unlikely. So Bill's gonna pitch, I think, from hand, computer interface, and alternatives to fighting. Um, Probably correctly assessing what you just did, that there's probably not going to be a battle in space.
Right. Or if there is, it's going to be one he's initiating. Like if he's
Yeah,
attacking into Tatooine, trying to outpower that, power 13 in a Destiny Devastator. At best, it's 17.
yeah. QMC is faster than it used to be and has enough space to challenge, but got to piece together a lot of items to do that. Yeah, that's very true. Like QMC's space can be very durable if you give them time to do it.
Right.
I'm not sure what David is. It looks like he's given up a verify here, but
Getting a
maybe,
sight with the objective, but yeah,
yeah, maybe he's just holding the deck forward enough that we can see it and Bill can't. I don't.
I hope for his
Move over with Devastator turn 1 and threaten drain of 4. I mean, you could. Um,
it's very risky because if you lose your Devastator, you lose the game. I.e.,
yeah.
cannot afford to pay to drain at all those Tatooine sites.
I think just flipping might be a better plan, honestly. Because the thing is, like, QMC is prepared for people to come at them in space,
Hmm.
right? So, like, yeah, Bill pitched alternatives to fighting, but like we saw that he has a Hunter and the Falcon in his opening hand.
Right.
So like, and he has a Hujix I can see there too. So like, there's not really a threat for you to face them down.
Right.
And you run the risk of having to peel, you run the risk of having to like, yeah, I think I would probably have just kept Devastator at Tatooine. There's not a lot of
Right. You move over, he puts Harksef there to block it, and you add Thrawn and then battle into it, and he alternatives and cancels
yeah.
the battle, and then you just run away anyway. Because
Yeah,
then
I
you're
get what
coming
you're
back.
saying, Rebel
Yeah.
CPA, in terms of like the risk and reward. I just feel like, I mean, what are you gonna do? Like they'll play Harksef, and then like if they have a rescue in the clouds, your battle is pretty like you're fighting into them is pretty bad.
Right.
Like if they have an alternatives and it's just that you just did nothing, and then you have to move back over. I think I would probably prefer to just draw those two cards than spend the one moving over and the one moving back. Is
Right.
what I'm thinking.
Right. I mean, there's a slim chance your opponent doesn't have anything, and you're like, oh, now I control Bespin. Yay. And you kind of mess up their game plan a little bit. But there's also the chance that it's Harksef and it's Han Chewie and the Falcon, or Talon card and something else in the wild card. And now they're getting, the same power as you plus a power destiny or two power destiny draws. And now you're peeling cards to your own strategy that you kind of walked into yourself.
Yeah,
So
the multiple power destinies is probably what I would be most worried about.
QMC's not known for drawing great, but I mean, anytime you can start taking anything you want out of your deck, you start to improve that. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
like the other side too is like if Bill had gotten a hand with a lot of cheap characters, he could have just like played Harksef, played two characters to flip, and then move Harksef to Tatooine. And then yeah, you're threatening drain of two, but they're threatening drain of two back
Right.
and get their force pile pull that you now have to move into that they probably wouldn't have bothered to do if you hadn't moved into them. I don't know. I think there's a lot of up and down, and I probably it depends more on your opening hand than anything.
That's very true.
Um,
Very, very true. Because you're right. If they go to if they move from Tatooine to Bespin, then you just go to Tatooine and make them move back. And yeah,
while we've been kind of spitballing all of that, looks like David has just played a site and is considering his next moves. I don't think that he's stopped drawing.
I think he might have
No,
swapped for a trooper or something like that. And
okay.
now we're gonna get,
So there's
you know,
Davin Fife to Moss Isley. Back in the day, you always had flagship exec to make going to best make more sense. Yes, I mean that's true. I guess
mhm.
the wrinkle to that is the Belden combo makes deploying Executor to back up Bespin not that great because they get a free battle cancel. So it's kind of, it's kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, things have certainly evolved in these decks over the last couple of
Yeah. So David is just gonna play out some troopers and flip, get Tatooine Occupation V going. Um, Force 8 now that gives us the answer. Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's true, Rebel CFA, that I don't think it's necessarily automatic that you
Hmm.
keep Devastator there. I think it's the sort of thing though that like it would make sense to do either way. It depends on your hand and kind of what you're expecting out of your opponent. So I it seems likely that David probably had the occupation and had troopers, but like didn't have a barrier and didn't have command. So like,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
yeah. So then you're like, all right, well, given that I don't really have the tools that I would need to be really safe at Bespin, and I'm probably going to be able to get this flip going and get my damage going, so we'll just do that.
And it's
Um,
a good pile of damage you're looking at here right now, because
yeah.
that's 3 occupation and 5 from drains.
His deploy looks like he has Imperial Bear. I mean, actually, he saved like 4. His deploy looks like he has Stormtrooper Patrol to me. Now, if I'm playing no idea, I think I'm moving over with Barrier. I mean, why did he just lose? Did
He drained for 1 at Bespin. He didn't pull
Oh, he
battle.
didn't pull a battle plan.
I
Okay.
mean, I mean, it's a dead shield. It's saving you a drain of 1 for 1 turn, and then after that, it's not doing anything.
Yeah, he pulled resistance though, which is weird.
I think he's probably just planning ahead. Like, these are the shields I'm
Yeah.
gonna need, because once Watering Hole and Pukumer hit the table, it's 3-3-3. Now it'll all be 2-2-2.
Yeah, I mean that's if you have Pukemir and Watering Hole. I kind of feel like most commonly
Mm.
these decks do one or the other. It's usually Watering Hole.
I see no reason not to play both.
I guess that's fair. Makes you more vulnerable to like Imperial Decree, but I don't know if you care about that necessarily. Walkers is probably not a deck that you're expecting to see now,
Right.
with slip sliding away no longer letting you play the Walker start.
Mhm. I
All
mean,
right,
I know
so
you need aliens to trigger Watering Hole anyway, so
yeah. So we got Twaska, I think, right? To the North
hmm
Corridor.
there's Twaska, there's Elor's Medak. That'll flip.
Yeah.
And now Bill can go dig for any card he wants out of his force pile. He's got a Cal Foul, he's got a dash, he's got a card tracking
Tracking
us. Yep.
and a sight. And then a third character that I couldn't see what it was. Yeah, and I read David's deploy here as he has Stormtrooper Patrol to cover one attack and probably Gick for the other one.
Yeah, I mean, between barriers, patrols,
I
and
yeah,
a Git combo or something like that. Yeah.
I would have expected that QMC deploying Harksef and drawing on turn 1 and so not flipping probably isn't going to be able to put up a lot of battle damage against you on Tatooine at 2 locations this turn.
No.
So like a patrol and a Gick is like definitely enough. Patrol and a
Hmm.
barrier is probably enough. Patrol and just like eating it. I guess he doesn't have a rest order, so he doesn't have the forfeit boost for that. But
Right. Yeah, those guys are a little better when they're covering 5 or 6 apiece. When they're covering 3 apiece,
yeah, it's a little hairier. I mean, QMC's attack though is also a little wonky because like Isla can go anywhere and Din can go anywhere, but like
hmm
Lando can't.
right.
So like
They're both decks that tend to need multiple things in each location to kind of do what they're going to do.
yeah.
Or you can just try this, like both players are doing, and just sprawl across the board and just see who can
Yeah.
make the other one run out of cards faster, because they both put a lot on the table to begin with.
There's a lot of problems with I uh I mean, I don't know. It seems to be doing fine so far. This is table 4 we're talking about.
Hmm.
Bill needs to find Menace Fades. Yeah, I mean Menace Fades would help. Looks like he's peeling 3.
For occupation.
Yeah.
Now he's going to get drained for 5. Don't tread on me. There goes dash from the force pile. There goes a rescue. Local defense and Yakshjit.
That's a lot of damage real quick here.
Mm-hmm. And with no celebration out yet, like that's what Bill has to prioritize getting set up. And obviously, if
Yeah.
you know, does David have a canceller for that? If he's running combo Gix, no. If he's running non-combo Gix, which he probably would in this build, because you don't need it to cancel Landing Claw or anything, because you have the effect for that, or the
Yeah.
so if he can pull it, all he has to do is cancel it once, and he's going to be so far ahead in the damage by the time Bill gets the second copy set up. It's not going to matter.
Now, as far as the activation discussions happening in the chat, Rebel CPA is right that the send a detachment out to retrieve them means that David's activating +1 at all of those sites because he has a trooper at them. Which also leans more into IE being incentivized to keep the Devastator at Tatooine because you have to occupy the Tatooine system for that to work. So he would have been giving up an activation to move her up over on turn 1. You do need Lightside to leave you alone for all of that activation bonus to apply. I don't think activation is going to be a problem QMC against IE. Both of these decks are going to put a lot of battlegrounds on the table. So
right, your opponent's already given you 5, so
yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 5. Yeah. David's lining up a trooper beat. Yeah, I mean that certainly seems to be the goal of this deck is.
But it's hard to do to go against QMC with that because first off, your guys deploy +1 because they control the system.
Yeah.
And between, Blast the Door Kid, It's a Trap, Path to move away, like they can just avoid the battle. And then you got a pile of your guys all committed to the table, stuck at one of their sites that drain for -1.
Yeah, like I would assume Ellis has to be involved here for that.
Yeah.
Would probably be the best way to do it. Oh, try to set up a beat at Tatooine. Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be David's preference if Bill goes at him on Tatooine so that he can do the trooper beat there, where a lot of Bill's evasion doesn't apply.
Oh, Tarkin comes down, and Bill reminds him of the +1.
+1. I would have probably gone after. Well, I guess he wants that site more than anything.
Although that site is the one that also tends to matter the least because you can't cancel their drains where they have aliens anyway.
Yeah, but it's a drain too, so at least this way, right? Like if he does do like the path away to run away or whatever, then you get a drain 2 site back out of it.
Right. It's the only one that's not a -1 kind of thing. Yep.
Yeah. That's the site he needs to be at long term. I mean, yeah, I mean it's the site that he's going to do the most damage at.
Yep. And which trooper was that?
And certainly the site that he wants QMC to not be at if he ends up with a presence on Bespin.
Right. Is that just a squad leader, or is there a virtual? Is that Mod Terex?
I think it's Mod Terex and the cadet.
Well, with another trooper, attrition against opponent is +1 here. During your move phase, when moving with the squad, he can still move them. Okay. For less. Okay.
Yeah. So just a trooper probably was the idea here. Although he is a leader, so he goes well with Tarkin. So
yeah.
All right. Yeah, and Bill's just gonna path away. When he's counting up, David has so much force still active.
I was gonna say, is that 12 or 13 force he still has in there?
Yeah, I mean he's
a trooper. Yep.
I mean he was activating 8, 11, 14, 15 this turn, so and he saved 4 or so from last turn. So while yeah, it would be an expensive beat, like he can afford it because like his troopers are not that expensive. So
that is very, very true. And Bill doesn't look like he has a very large hand left, especially after peeling 8 cards last turn. So in terms of what he can come back to interact with that with, it's also going to be pretty minimal.
Yeah, I feel like Bill's best out here is going to be he needs to get celebration. That definitely needs to happen. But then like from there, I think
Mhm.
he just needs to like I think he'd actually like does need to disrupt somehow. Like he does need to put a guy on Tatooine and knock a trooper off or something like that, which seems so wrong. But like,
At this point in the game, he's behind
yeah,
and he's getting out damaged. So all it can do is just get worse.
he can't take 8 damage a turn and win from here, even with celebration.
No.
David realizing that QMC prevents him from canceling the drains.
Oh, he is playing combo Gix. So that
Oh,
might be no masterful moves then, meaning
and
no
he
celebration cancels.
just peeled a first strike.
Hmm.
All right, so there is an escape pod combo, so we can at least save a little bit of damage that way. I didn't see a celebration, which is pretty bad for Bill if that's in fact the case.
If he doesn't have one in hand already, and there wasn't one in the 15 force or so he activated, yeah, that's pretty rough. Oh,
Drew all those cards and couldn't lose any from hand. Yeah, you can go to every site, fight at one,
he's just
and
going
flip.
after he's just going after Tatooine.
Yeah.
There's the
Well,
barrier.
we know he had Honshu in the Falcon. All right, so yeah, he's gonna barrier the wild card.
Are we gonna does he have a grab the barrier?
I feel like he probably wants to grab Trooper Assault, but grabbing barrier makes sense too. Grabbing command makes sense too.
There's a Han Chewie Falcon. Yep. Now, even if he passes this turn, it's still either going to force David to commit more stuff to Tatooine, or
Yeah.
he might have to move. And if he moves away, then he's not doing celebration damage and stuff anymore either. So,
I mean, David does have Grand Almithron in hand,
mhm.
so like, I feel like just passing is probably not a great plan.
He's going to barrier that again too.
Hmm.
Yeah. You
So
kind of
Bill,
had to you kind
yeah,
of had to see I mean, this is the deck you're kind of gonna trooper spread kind of deck. You're gonna expect to see 3 to 4 barriers.
yeah.
Why I would have leaned toward grabbing it, just to make him get progressively more expensive.
It is a tough deck though for the grabber because like there are like 3 interrupts probably that you want to grab,
Hmm.
even sight unseen, right? Like you want to grab barrier and command and trooper assault.
Hmm.
I guess QMC might be able to assume that you won't run into trooper assault because if you get trooper assaulted, you've done something wrong.
Right, you can avoid the battles with other cards enough that
Yeah.
Trooper Assault's probably the least problematic of the 3.
Does he play command? Seems like a way. I mean, I don't think that that's necessarily the case in the game. Right? Like, you have 2 admirals automatically because you're playing Endor Shield, and then like General Tag is pretty good in Trooper IE.
Yeah, it seems like a
So
one-off kind of card, at least maybe
yeah,
2.
so like
Not
I
like
don't.
4, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like I don't think it's impossible that you'd be playing 2 or 3 commands. If he's playing Ground Thrawn, then yeah, he would certainly be playing commands. Um, I'm gonna step away for just a second here because I have to let my partner into the house. She doesn't have a key, so I'm gonna be right back.
Oh, all right. In the meantime, looks like David's just figuring out his activation and how many he wants to leave behind. He's going to get to peek at a couple cards here and take one into hand, and then he's going to need enough for Battle Destinies here. And if you are thinking we know he's got Thrawn, putting him on the Devastator, you're talking about 17 power. There goes Leia Rebel Princess. There goes Celebration. There goes another Yakshjit. There goes the It Could Be Worse array.
Okay.
That's quite a few cards that Bill just had to peel there again.
I saw Ray.
Celebration went, Ray went, Leia Rebel Princess went, second Yakshjit. It Could Be Worse.
Mm, none of that is good.
No, and the fact that he just lost. I mean, the last 2 turns, he's peeled 15 cards, like, and he's put 15 of his own on the table already. Like, he's running pretty thin here.
How much does David leave?
I think 4 back.
Four
After he
back, four back means he's activated to his command, right? So, or to his barrier.
right, and then he got to peek and take, you know,
Took
obviously
his,
the barrier or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
He either took barrier in the hand or he left himself 4/4 blank. No, all red
barrier,
cards.
barrier, Ellis, barrier, trooper assault are the 4 cards in his reserve deck. So this seems very good for David, very bad for Bill,
Yeah.
who's already behind in this game, and that's pretty much going to make sure he doesn't catch up. Because even if he
Yeah.
just drops Thrawn, it's 17 power, 2 battle destiny.
Yeah, I think. Oh, as a Tarkin's bounty. Oh, he
Tarkin's
should
bounty.
probably play Tarkin's bounty on Tarkin because Tarkin's on table.
He should, and it would make the most sense. But given what's in his reserve deck, where it's 4-4-4-5, I don't know that he really cares right now. He's just going to put it on Ozzel, where he knows it's going to
Yeah,
stay all game.
yeah.
And guess it doesn't matter. He's going to pick whatever card he wants. He's going to drop Thrawn. Potentially put 2 biker scouts on the Devastator to subtract from his
That would be
uh
rough. Yeah.
Barrack and another dude, and then subtract from attrition and power, and you know just keep pinging away for 7 to 8 force a turn.
Bill looks like he's got 2 or 3 saved there. Um, Probably just doesn't want to see Leia Rebel Princess dodging around Tatooine.
Yeah, she just hit the
Yeah,
lost pile, but obviously there's Jedi levitation or whatever could
yeah.
take her back into hand.
Or could have 2. Yeah. I mean, the dodging back and forth though is like, well, most of the time QMC does that with Path, which doesn't work on Tatooine.
Hmm.
So like, you could have actual dodge, but then you run afoul of like, does a Tatooine IE Trooper Beats deck really not have a react canceller?
I mean,
Like,
it's sitting right there on the top of his lost pile, right? It's his Git combo, which he's got
yeah.
at least 2 of.
So like, yeah.
There's Thrawn.
If your hope is that you can play Leia Rebel Princess and then use dodge to get away, that's not a great. That looks like Barrack, I think.
I thought it might have been Tarl, and now we got Oberk,
Okay. Is
who's
that the
now
two
also
that? Oh, because he gets to deploy a location from his. Okay.
right. I think that's what Oberk does, right? Gets the location out.
Yeah, Tarl and Oberk add a destiny with each, or add 1 destiny with each other, right? Is that? Oh no, Tarl is not a troop, not a biker.
Right. I think that's who that was. I couldn't quite make out from the picture, but I mean, he's just another guy for forfeit, basically.
Yeah, during battle with 2 of your troopers, target. Yeah, none of that text applies. Okay. And then Oberk is a pilot who adds 2, deploy a battleground from use pile. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. And obviously, based on what was in his reserve deck, we were all red cards. He couldn't swap troopers to get somebody better.
Dresslin eye roll add, thank you. I think there's one that adds with Barrack also, but he's like really bad, so nobody plays him. Misk, yeah, Missick. Yeah, he's bad because he's ability 1. Oh, also he needs to be piloting or driving a vehicle, and he
Yeah.
doesn't actually add a destiny. All right, he's just real bad. Okay.
Yeah.
Oberk is super interesting. I feel like he's a good deck idea for someone smarter than me. I mean, I don't know, man. Like I've seen Oberk. He certainly does some things.
Yeah. Bill's up against the wall here, and David's gonna battle for free, and he draws 2 4s, and you get a power destiny and a battle destiny of 5 for Bill. So, and then I don't know what that.
Why did we draw another one? Oh, maybe it is Barrack and not Tarl.
I mean, it would make sense obviously if it was Barrack, but it just
Yeah.
didn't look like it when he put him down. But
If it is Barrack, that's real
yeah,
bad.
that's what we were speculating earlier was going to be,
Yeah. So that
backbreaking.
that essentially cancels the battle destiny. So then it's uh
Han Chewie Falcon, and he peeled 2 cards.
oh. And
And
then of course Devastator's immune to attrition, and there's no attrition anyway because of Barrack, so
yep, you
yeah.
lost nothing.
Yeah. And then and we also have this battle on the ground that Bill moved over to block.
Hmm.
I guess the plus side for Bill here is that David doesn't get to add a destiny because he only has one left in reserve.
There you go. Silver linings.
He's still down a lot
It's
and
like eight.
is gonna lose just the cadet because the cadet covers everything with a
Mhm.
leader.
Right. It's what, 8-3, give or take, in power.
I mean, Bill has a very easy Tuasca bet. He's definitely not going to win the battle.
I'm thinking it's virtual. Tuasca doesn't do that anymore, right? Or
Is there a
does?
virtual Tuasca? I don't
Oh,
think there
maybe.
is a virtual Tuasca.
Nope, there isn't. I'm wrong. Yep. Oh, it's only if you initiate the battle, you have to make a prediction. So,
Oh, I guess that makes sense. Otherwise, right, you just
and they both draw fours.
does Tuasca even cover? Nope, he apparently does not. What was that destiny for? Bill just drew two destinies. I don't know why that would be. Well, in any case, what happened was pretty much exactly what we expected.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
David's now got four Tatooine battlegrounds, so threatening to do 8 damage on the ground.
Yeah, this
And
didn't look
Bill,
like it was going to be a great matchup for QMC unless they got a fast start,
and
and it
yeah,
didn't. Bill didn't flip turn one. He didn't quite get that fast start, and David did and got the occupation out and everything really quick. So,
yeah,
uh, unless Bill's got something else up his sleeve here, this is probably his last ditch effort. Whenever he's going to pull out here.
yeah. It looks like he saved two, which I think are the 5 and the 4 that were drawn in the battle last turn.
Hmm.
So he's at least got good destinies lined up and is gonna do 2 points of damage, but yeah, the point that was made in the chat earlier does come up here where there's so much deployed to table for dark side
Very true.
that like he David probably doesn't have that much left in life force. The problem is just that Bill just has no board position.
Right.
It's like he can do 2 damage, but he's gonna eat 8 if he does nothing else here. And then he's gonna get blown out at Tatooine, and or he's actually gonna eat 10 if he does nothing else here. Because he's gonna take the 2 damage on Bespin as well.
Uh, Drain 5 on Tatooine, 4 occupation is 9, 10, 11 to the
El-
drain at Bespin. And
11, yeah,
that's
11.
if he doesn't move the wild card away and doesn't want to take overflow there, and that would be one more, that'd be 12.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely too little too late for celebration. You're just bleeding way too much to stop that. So it's got to be a beatdown somewhere, and obviously David has shown he's got a plethora of barriers.
yeah. David's been prepared for Bill to
Hmm.
attack him from like turn 2 or 3. So
Right.
like I would agree that I kind of feel like Bill has to do that, but there's also like there's so little chance that it's going to work.
Right.
And yep, Lisa Sirin comes down against the cadet and gets barriered. Bill's not going to grab it because why not, I guess. Um, Figuring Dan comes down.
No more
No more
barriers.
barriers. David has a ton of characters in hand.
He does. And we saw 2 trooper assaults at the end of his hand as well. He's got 2
Yeah,
garrisons, a strategic reserves, and
and 2 patrols it looks like.
yeah, and 2 trooper assaults to go with him. So
Yeah, so but it's just gonna be like patrol trooper assault into this battle, and
mhm.
that is Nien Num to block the drain. Uh, Bill is going to pay 1. Are we battling?
I think he's battling. We're gonna get 1, 2. 3 to react.
Yeah.
And he's got 3 left if he wants to react with the second one too. Because right now he doesn't get Destiny there. He just has good power.
Yeah, but the cadet will still cover, right? Like any
Right.
attrition.
Well, you
He's
could play the
currently
troopers.
he's currently 5 power against 4.
Right. And he plays the trooper assault and gets 4 more.
Yeah.
And then so he's 9 to whatever Bill draws, and it's basically a wash, and David
Yeah.
loses nothing.
Bill's gonna draw 5. But then
Hmm.
oh, he's not gonna react the second one. He's gonna
No,
trooper assault and Bill's gonna grab the trooper assault. So if our math is right, then it is just 9 against 4.
does the cadet add to the, or does it only add to uniques?
I think cadet adds, or once per turn, you can target a non-unique Imperial Warrior to make it power +1. So I guess he's 10 power then,
Right.
or a non, yeah. When forfeited with a non-cadet trooper at the same site satisfies remaining attrition. So yeah, he's not gonna. Oh, but he's immune to attrition because that's how trooper assault works. So he's just
Right.
not gonna.
Right.
And then Bill's gonna land the wild card in front of the dewback.
That doesn't make sense. There you go.
Yeah, given that Lando does not draw Destiny, Lando's gonna get out and go in front of the dewback. So the
Yep.
wild card's going to be alone.
It's +1 to move.
Oh yeah.
He's flipped. It's +1 per guy to move, which it looks like he just
Mm,
forgot about.
see how quickly I can ping somebody on that.
I think it's probably too late. I mean, Bill does look like he has some extra force there, but
I'm not fast enough.
I don't know that's going to make a whole lot of difference because he's still going to
Yeah.
eat 4 to occupation and 2 to drains for a total of 6.
When the Num doesn't draw alone, right? So like you have to do that battle at no cost. You don't even need to draw Destiny because the Num's like power 3,
Power 2.
power 2.
Now that would be a guy you'd want in space, right? Because he limits your opponent's immunity to attrition.
He does.
But obviously, there's a pile of stuff, and that may be where Bill was initially going, but the wild card got barriered.
Yeah.
So he was going to try and limit the immunity to attrition.
He must not have been able to find the Num though because he played Lando that turn.
Yeah, but I guess there's no point in putting the Num down when he knew it was obviously you got barriered. You're not battling into him.
Oh, and you need to. Num alone is just limits to less than 7, which isn't going to make enough of a difference.
Right.
Because he's not a smuggler, so he on the wild card wouldn't do enough. Lando together with Num set something up, but yeah.
He is
Yeah, so
he is a smuggler. It's in his title.
oh he is. That's true, he is.
But yeah, the whole limit to less than 5 and then clear Ozzel and take the whole ship down totally changes the dynamic of this game. But of course,
Yeah. He got
David,
barriered and then
right.
David added like 13 forfeit worth of guys. So
Right.
and Barracks was like, yeah, you're not gonna crack through that.
No. Anything short of Tarn Mizan isn't getting through this thing right now. So
So now Bill's kind of presented him with the option of, where do you want to beat me down? Because there's a couple of choices. So David's just deciding what's the most profitable attacks for him, I think.
I think he's just going to make sure he can draw Battle Destiny everywhere, and he's going to clear the
Yeah.
wild card, clear Nien Num, clear Lee Sub. There's Sergeant Tarl. Okay, so I knew I
Yeah.
saw him earlier.
And now Sergeant Charles power +2 when deployed. So now that's a lot of power there now.
Right. Lee Sub's what, power 1?
6, 7, 8, 9 power. 10, 11 power against 3. I think least up's 3. Oh, least up's 2.
2.
And 3 forfeit. So 11 against 5.
And
And
potentially
then,
a second trooper assault.
yeah, and then wild card gets no. Wild card doesn't get to draw Destiny because it's permanent pilot's ability too. So it's just 0 power, 6 forfeit against
6 power and a
6
Destiny.
power currently. Well, he doesn't get a Destiny there. Oh no, he does because that's a snowtrooper, not a cadet.
Right. So the wild card's gonna die, Lee Sub's gonna die, Nia Nub's gonna die. And Bill's gonna do like 3 damage on his turn, and then David's gonna drain for like 12.
Yeah. We're calculating. So this should be if my count was right, David should be at 15 power there.
4,
Oh, I forgot
5,
about the Tatooine system. He should be
8,
at 16 power.
9, 10, 11, 12, and 4, 16. Yeah.
Yeah. He did have the Hujix. I think they both knew that.
Right.
Um,
But now what does the wild card do? Does he have a second Hujix?
yeah. David did take a trooper into hand with enforcement in that battle. I think that's limited to once per battle though, right? Not once per turn.
I do not know the answer to that question.
Once per turn during battle. If you just drew a character for Destiny, you can cancel and redraw it. So he's not going to get to do that again this turn, or again against
Yeah.
the wild card, but he doesn't need to do it against the wild card.
Bill
Yeah, he has
scooped, yeah.
second trooper assault. Bill's going to scoop because he spent his Hujix, and the
Yeah.
trooper assault represents 4 damage at least, and then the Destiny draw. So
He was a mile behind for the
yeah,
last 2 or 3 turns, and this wasn't doing anything to change that. So
yeah,
why waste the time? Why waste the mental energy? Go get a drink, go to the bathroom, regroup, move on, for the last couple rounds here. I think these
yeah,
players were both at the top tables, so
yeah. They were
they
table 4, so
we're looking
I
at a
wouldn't.
4-0 or 3-1s. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get David on here so we can talk to him for a little bit and find out. But yeah, I think David played that matchup really well, I think. Because like it's a deck that obviously is trying to get that beatdown in, right? But like he recognized that in order to do that against Bill's QMC, he was gonna have to bait him. He was gonna have to present a board position that required Bill to answer it so that he could then beat him down.
Right.
So he was able to get his spread out and get everything going to do his damage early so that he was doing that like 8 damage in the middle of the game.
Right. He got himself in a spot where he could win the game without ever battling.
Yeah. So
And
pressure was on Bill to change the math on it, and
right. And that actually favors then everything David's trying to do because he wants to battle. So
yeah.
if you're doing enough damage to win the game without battling, you're a mile ahead.
Yeah. So yeah. Really well played by David for sure.
Absolutely.
And I think Bill just really didn't have a lot of I think he just didn't have a lot of options there. Didn't seem like his opening hand gave him enough to do, and then he was just really far behind.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like Dan said that he has updated the scroll to have the current top 8 in the bottom here.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff and Dennis are at 1 and 2. They were at table 1 last round, I believe. So Bill was in 4th here.
Mm-hmm.
David's not on that list, so
Must
I
have
wonder
been.
if he got paired up.
That's what I was thinking too, but it's game 5, so that shouldn't have been a situation there.
Yeah.
That should have been your top 8 players. Unless people had already played a particular side and the software had to instead of flip we just put a flip sides.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out from David what his record was coming into this, and See if we can get an update. So what's going on there?
David was ninth.
Oh, so that's why he wasn't on that list. All right.
Yeah, but that's weird because game 5 should be the top 8 players should be at the top 4 tables. It's a new round.
I mean, the software, as I understand it, doesn't automatically pair 1 versus 2, 3 versus 4, etc. It'll
That's
it'll
that's
pair
true.
it'll pair within Swiss records. So
You're right.
I think Jeff and Dennis were probably both 4-0, so they got paired at table 1. But
Right.
then from there, it's pairing all the 3 and 1s together, and it's
Now you're
random within that.
yeah, you're right about that. That's because you're right, because Hayes and Bill played last game. So if Hayes is at table 3, it's likely Hayes won that, and potentially those are all the 4 and O's.
Hayes is definitely not 4-0 because he and Joe played
He
in
and
game
Joe played,
3,
and
and
Joe
Joe
won.
won. Jeff, Dennis, and Cal are 4-0 is what Dan's telling us. So that makes sense. The Cal was at 3,
So
or
then they were
Cal's
right.
third.
So they were all 3 and 1 then in that next pile there, and then that's how they got. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
3 and 1s go down to like 6 or so.
Yeah.
Or 6 of them, 7 of them or so.